Good afternoon, Karen.
Hi, Carrie.
Thank you for joining me for this interview. I have a lot of questions for you.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, fantastic. Hey, I love your coffee,
Thank you.
and I find that it's unusual. I find that it's unusual in the sense that you speak about recipes when you talk about your coffee,
Yeah, I do.
and I don't hear that anywhere else. Can you explain what you actually mean?
Yeah, sure. Um, most coffees are single origin. You have a Colombian coffee, you have a Sumatra, you have Ethiopian, you have Brazilian. Um, but Mocha's coffees are different because they're a blend of beans from 4 or 5 different countries. Um, so it's a certain amount of Brazilian with a certain amount of bean from Central America and South America, from Africa, from India, which makes the flavor and the body of the coffee special and different.
Okay. Would you say it's fuller than what most people might be accustomed to?
Well, what I found when I moved to Europe was the European coffees have more body than American coffees did. Well, every time I went home, I took coffee with me. For that reason,
Yeah.
because I couldn't get a good cup of coffee at that time.
Right.
The market has certainly changed since then, but the European coffees, in my opinion, have much more body, and more full, and more flavorful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes the difference. That's the difference between European coffees and even European coffees from different countries.
Right.
When you think of France, you think of a really nice dark roast. Mocha's Cafe France is a lovely dark roast. It's not at all bitter. It's very smooth. Italian coffees, you think of espresso, and Mocha's Cafe Italia makes great espresso. So every country has a different palate for coffee, and that was my idea and my thought when I started putting the company together.
Okay, that makes sense. So this is I'm changing the order of the questions a little bit, but I'm going to ask you what do you think? Because you have 5 different flavors, recipes, let's say, and each recipe has a unique purpose, let's say. So one is maybe the dark roast has a particular flavor and a particular combination. So what do you think would go well with these particular recipes? So, for example, if I had a chocolate cake, which of the recipes would you suggest that I use to drink with it? Or is it more individual?
Both.
Okay.
Both. A chocolate cake, I think Cafe Svenska would be perfect.
Okay.
Or Cafe France, but to me Cafe France goes with everything.
Yeah, that's the dark roast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the darkest roast.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you enjoy a stronger coffee.
It depends on the time of day.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I love Cafe Holland. I call my afternoon coffee because I can literally drink it all afternoon.
Okay.
Cafe France, I love in the morning. I love it in the evening after dinner, as I do Cafe Italia.
Mm-hmm.
Cafe Suisse. For Swiss coffee is really special, and it's the middle of the medium roast. So it's all personal taste. Just like a lot of people don't like coffee at all.
Those people don't exist in my world. But at least one cup of coffee you have to have. So back to coffee. So, okay, so those are the recipes. Now I understand what the recipes are. Let's say someone wasn't sure which flavor that they wanted to try. How could you help them in some kind of way? Is there sort of something that, for example, I like really strong flavors, and I really want to taste things.
Right.
So, which of the coffees would you suggest for me?
I would say either Cafe France or Cafe Italia,
Okay.
which is the medium. Cafe Italia is a medium dark roast, and Cafe France is a dark. when I'm doing exhibitions or when I'm standing in stores doing tastings, I always ask people what their preference is. What do they normally drink at home? Do they drink a mild, medium roast? Do they like their coffee a bit bolder? And then I try to direct them
Okay.
in that way.
Okay. So, are there specific things? I've taken a test for tea and for wine and whiskey even, where they ask me how I like my coffee. Now, would it be maybe there's a reverse test for like how do I like my coffee as opposed to how do I like my
How do you
whiskey?
like your whiskey?
Yeah, so maybe there's like certain things that you can say like I like my tea to be light. I don't personally like it. I like my tea to be strong, so I like strong flavors. So I get what you're saying with the Italian and the France. But if someone, I don't know, if they like light tea or tea with milk or something like that, would you suggest one of the lighter
I would
roasts?
say Cafe Holland, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really nice and smooth. It's none of them are bitter. None of them have a bitter aftertaste. Cafe Holland is just easy. It's easy to drink.
Okay. And which of them has the strongest chocolate flavor?
Good question.
We all like chocolate.
Probably Cafe Shavinska,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to ask you another question about something totally different now.
Okay.
And it's more about the name and the origins and the history of the company.
Before I ever thought about doing something with coffee, I was introduced to a coffee machine that was made in Denmark. And I happened to be in the States, and my mother was in the hospital, and I was sleeping in the chair next to her bed. And the nurses come in all night, and they turn the lights on and take your vital signs. And I'd wandered down the hallway, and they had coffee brewed in those little blend pots, and it was always burned. And so I went out of the hospital about 3 o'clock in the morning and called my husband, and I said, "What's the name of that machine you have in the office?" I'm just a salesman. I mean, I'm looking for something to sell. So I got back to the Netherlands and I called them. And I said, "Do you have anybody representing your company in the United States?" And they said no. So I went to Copenhagen and met with them. And they had a coffee company. And I took a sample of their coffee because I thought it was lovely. And I went to a specialty food show in New York. And I met with the head buyer at that time for Whole Foods in Austin. And he liked the coffee. So I called the president of the company in Denmark and I said, "If I develop a market for your coffee in the United States, would you consider roasting there?" Because I knew at this point shipping coffee back and forth was a horrible experience. And he said, "No, we're not doing that."
Oh.
And I went, "Oh, okay, fine."
Okay. No.
So I had this coffee and I had a buyer for Whole Foods who happened to like it. And I couldn't just quite decide what to do. And that's when I came up with the idea of looking for small European roasters with really great coffees to introduce to the U.S. market under one label, under one brand name. I'd never seen a collection of European coffees presented under one name. So and I was looking for something to do.
Aren't we all?
So I started driving around and asking friends. I have friends in Italy. They sent me some samples of coffees from small roasters near them. I picked out the one I liked and I made an appointment to go over and meet with them. And they thought I was a wealthy American woman coming in to place a big order with them. I went, no, I want to buy your recipe. You must be kidding. We drank a lot of champagne and ate a lot of food. And
then they gave you the recipe. Champagne. Champagne and coffee, lovely.
And pizza, Italian food, great. And that's pretty much how I got all of my recipes.
Okay.
I had a friend, a French-Canadian artist friend, who was working near Willie Montrachet during that time. And she went into Bone to buy her coffee. And she said, Karen, you got to try this coffee. So I drove 7 hours into the middle of France to meet with this little old man who was like 85 years old. And she was translating because I didn't speak that much French.
Mm-hmm.
And she explained what I was doing, and he kept looking at me, and he kept looking at me. And finally, in the end, he took a little brown paper bag, and he wrote the recipe down
Oh,
for the coffee I liked, and handed me 3 bags of beans and said, good luck.
wow. And have you seen him since, ever?
No, that was in 2007.
Oh, and he was already 85.
Yeah, he was
okay.
already old. So I don't think maybe some of the family has taken
Yeah.
over. No, I haven't seen him.
Oh.
I haven't been back, but it was a beautiful trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 7 hours into France. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be a beautiful trip.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I broke down on the way.
He had a reason to stay in France. So you started Mokk-a in what year?
It went on the shelf the first time in 2009, in June of 2009.
Okay. And the thought came up because of what happened with that one event,
With the Denmark.
with the Denmark event. Okay. So,
And you asked me how we came up with the name.
yes.
The coffee in Denmark was called a Mokk-a.
Okay.
And when I was representing that company, I sold some equipment to the Sony music studio in Manhattan. And the director and I became friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just before they were going to tear the studio down and build high-rise.
Oh.
And Mike was the last one to close the door, and he said, I want to work with you on Mokk-a. And he actually came up with the name. And that was before you saw the name Mokk-a everywhere.
Right.
I mean, you had a Mokk-a pot,
Right.
but you didn't see, I see a lot of coffees in Europe named M-O-K-K-A.
Yeah.
So I don't know, we put the dash there.
Makes you
Make it
different.
look cool. And,
It does.
and then 2 weeks later, Mike had a job with a big studio, and he didn't have time to do anything
Oh.
with regard to coffee, so he left me all alone. But we're still in touch.
Okay. Did you already have a vision, or does Mokk-a have a mission?
Mokk-a has a mission to provide coffee lovers everywhere with a really special coffee. Introduce them to something they've never tried, and that's totally different.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And where do you see it going, say, I don't know, 5 years from now? What would you like to see happen with Mokk-a?
I'd like it to see, I'd like for it to be back where it was.
Okay. Okay. So, if someone were to see your packaging somewhere, what is it that you would want them to know?
The coffee inside the package is wonderful.
Mm-hmm. That sounds wonderful.
You know, a lot of times when you buy wines, for example, I always see a really cool label, and it makes me want to pick up the bottle and buy it. And then I get home and open it, and the wine's terrible.
But you do have a pretty bottle. Yeah, but that's not nice. So it's, but you have actually, I think you have pretty packaging as well.
Thank you.
So I think it's it's a pretty bag. It's simple, but it's elegant and classy and classic. It's actually not far from the way you're dressed now.
Oh, thank you. I knew I liked you too. You have the idea behind the fact that there are recipes for good coffees. There are recipes for coffees.
Yeah.
And that these recipes were created and really passed down through generations through European families in different countries.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the story I always try to tell
Yeah.
when I'm with people or on exhibitions or whatever. So they don't go, this is a French roast. No, it's a real French coffee.
Yeah, it's a French
Or
coffee.
this is an Italian roast. It's that word roast that always bugs me.
Okay.
No, it's a recipe I bought from an Italian roaster.
Right.
You know, nobody thinks of coffee.
No,
It's different.
it's true. And most people think all the beans are the same. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people do think that.
I mean, even when you buy a Colombian coffee, it's normally a blend of beans from different plantations.
Yeah. That would make sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Although retailers are going to single plantation coffees, which, you know, are more expensive, but they're much nicer. Colombian coffee is a blend, but you don't think of it that way.
No.
Because it's a blend of the same bean, just sourced from different plantations.
Mm-hmm.
Mokk-a's coffees are sourced from beans from different countries, so it's really a recipe.
Mm-hmm.
A certain percentage of this and a certain percentage of that, and we also talked about the roasting techniques for the European coffees. I mean, every country has a different way of doing it, and I got all of that in writing and passed it on to my U.S. roaster, and they duplicate everything I give them. They source all the beans, they do all the roasting and distribution
Okay.
on one spot.
So it is truly a European coffee, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, some of these families have been roasting coffee for 200 years now.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot of tradition in one little cup.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us.
Thank you for listening.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
I don't know. I don't know of anything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to check my notes and I'll be right
Try
back.
it. Buy it and try it.
Buy it and try it. Buy it and try it. Try it now.